Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so very excited to be doing this video. Finally, I just got done with this novel, The Hunger Games. This book gave me nostalgic feels. When I first read this book, the franchise, I never really got into reading, but my cousin was super into The Hunger Games. He made me watch the movies with her, and I was like, it's okay, I'll just watch them with you. I'm never gonna read the books anyway. Don't do that. When I first read the first and the second book, every single time, every instance, I just kept picturing Josh Hutcherson and Jennifer Lawrence as the main characters. Like, their images just kept coming into my head. That was what made it so painful for me to read it the first time when I was a kid. When I first read this book, it took me like 3 or 4 times to get past the first section, and it's broken up into different sections. I do think that this book is a good book, and to be honest, I'm surprised that I actually still enjoyed it as a young adult, I guess, because I read this book when I was about 15, and I do appreciate this book. It does have really great moments, don't get me wrong. It's an overall great story, and I love it. I do. There are just a few things that I personally don't like. I really loved Effie. I missed Effie. I love Cinna. Cinna's one of my favorites, then Haymitch, and then Effie. Rue. I like Prim, and then I like Peeta, and then Gale, and then probably Katniss. Haymitch, like, just being really drunk and cocky. I agree with him. There was even a scene within the novel where Katniss talks about, like, oh, like, well, when Haymitch won, now he's just a drunk, and like, I don't want to turn out like that. I've always liked Haymitch, and I thought his character was really great within a novel. So everybody knows about, like, I Volunteer's tribute and this and this and this, and like, that's like such a momentous scene. And the scene before with her and Gale and talking about how they could run away together, and I'm like, I know that the beginning is so momentous, and like the big here's what I thought when I was reading this book. The big momentous scenes like that, and like the scene with Rue, they were momentous, but they didn't last very long. Like, they were really like short-lived, and to be honest, I kind of wish that they were more emphasized a little bit, like more like lingering. Maybe that's just my personal opinion. I did get sad with Rue when she died. I was very sad about that when I first read it, and I told myself I'm not gonna cry because I already saw this in the movie and I'm not gonna cry. But like, I just kept picturing Rue just dying. So I completely forgot about Madge, and I kind of do wish that the movie had talked about that, because I remember in the movie she just finds the pin and doesn't really like say any more about it. And then I completely forgot that Madge was the one that gave her the pin, because like the moment I heard when I was reading about like, oh, like I have one customer that really likes strawberries, and I was like, wait, why do I kind of remember this, but I don't remember why this is important. And then I realized, like, oh yeah, Madge gave her the pin because she was allowed one thing with her to go into the arena. The other thing too, I completely forgot that Prim had just entered her name in, and I feel like, I know that's supposed to add more drama, like, oh, like her odds are so lucky and this and this and this, and like, I completely forgot about that. So like, that kind of helped a little bit for like the world building, just talking about like Panem and like the different districts. But that did have like a negative side to it, because I still don't know what all the other districts did. I think one district did like made bombs, because they were talking about how one kid in the arena managed to reactivate the bombs, but then it kind of makes you wonder, like, how did he do that, and why haven't they tried to like rebel against the Capitol? Anyway, technicalities. Anyway, so I have a lot of those. I loved the opening ritual scene, like, oh, they're on a chariot and they're going, and like the details within the story are very, how do I say this? Also something you wouldn't think of. Like, to this day, one scene that in particular, and I brought this up to my friend, and I'm like, I still can't get over the fact that because there was a part where I guess like they're eating before they're going into the arena, and they're like eating like pigs and whatever. Katniss talks about how, like, I've never seen pudding the color of honey. And like, when I read that, I was just like, what kind of fancy honey, what kind of fancy pudding are you eating that looks like honey? Like, it wasn't just like the viscosity, it was the color of honey. And I'm just like, I want some pudding that looks like honey. Just pretty much like the food aspect was always like detailed, like even with the berries at the end, like they talk about like the glistening berries in their hands. Like that is like one of the huge details that it's constantly brought up without the book. Another huge detail which I didn't pick up on when I was younger is the mentioning of birds. It's constantly just mentioned. It's not just like, oh, like mockingjays and stuff like that. No, like Katniss references her hairstylist and her makeup artist as birds. And I'm just like, I wonder if Suzanne had birds on the brain when she was writing this, because like I do like the foreshadowing and like the metaphor and whatnot. It just kind of, I never really picked up on that when I was younger, and I'm just like, oh. Okay. Another scene which I completely felt like emotional towards was when they were pretty much just like waxing every ounce of hair off of her body, because I had an experience similar to that. My mom waxed my legs for the first time, and it was the most painful thing in the world. If you've ever had anything waxed in your whole entire life, it's very painful if you don't do it very often. And it was in the middle of the night, and I was screaming up a storm. By the time my mom was done with the first leg, she looked at me and she was like, Savannah, I'm so sorry, but I don't have enough waxing strips for the other leg. And I had to go to school the next day. There's my little embarrassing story. But anyway, so that really, like literally reading that moment about how like she was being stripped of all of her hair, I was just like, dear Lord, girl, you have the patience to not yell your brains off, because I went through that and I was screaming up a storm. So granted, I was a kid at the time. I personally do not like Katniss. I know she's trying to like, you know, help her family out, but she just pisses me off so much. Peeta, I completely forgot that Peeta was more charismatic in the book. He's so self-deprecating. I think that's the reason why I like him so much more. Like, help him with this wound, and and she's just like, yeah, at this rate I'm just killing you, and he's just like, can you kill me faster? I'm like, I feel you, Peeta. He just has like these quick witty remarks that like I personally love, and I'm just like, okay, you're not just like the baker boy. Everybody thinks that you're sweet and this and this and this. Only I guess I didn't really like with Peeta was the scene where they're talking to Haymitch about like what their skills are, and you know, Peeta is like congratulating Katniss and this and this and this, and I'm just like, okay, Katniss, like, you know you're gonna win because one, you're the main character, but you don't know that, but two, you have hunting skills, you have archery skills. But no, she's just like, I'm gonna die, and Peeta's gonna win. You know why? Because he can throw sacks of flour. Like, and Peeta's like actually like having a good argument, just saying like, yeah, because I'm just gonna choke somebody to death with a bag of flour. Like, one of his good skills, aside from the self-deprecating, is the fact that he can actually disguise himself and he can paint and things like that, and I relate to him on that level. He's a fellow painter, he's a fellow artist, and I appreciate that. A majority of the time in this book, when you read her internal dialogue, she sounds like a negative person. Like, she sounds like, oh, kind of like a negative, cocky person in her head. But the moment she speaks, and I feel like I'm kind of like Haymitch, like that one scene where he's just like, you're just like, I can't do anything with you, you know, like you're just you, and you can't like be happy, you can't smile, you can't be sexy, you can't work with this image. And I'm just like, I feel you, Haymitch, because she is just because like whenever she opens her mouth, she's just kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, they're gonna win, and I like, and then she's a little bit cocky, but then she's just kind of like, I'm just not sure and timid, and like, I don't know which boy I like, and like, but in her head she's all misconfidence and shit, and I'm just like, I don't like you. I'm just like, when you speak, you don't speak your mind. And here's a good example of it. The ending where she, like, literally you're in her head and she talks about how, like, the reason why she wanted them both to eat the berries is because she literally thought about, like, being defiant. Right, she thought about being defiant towards the Capitol, and I know she couldn't just say that to the Capitol and whatever, and be, you know, like, yeah, I did it because I want to defy all of you. I know she couldn't say that, but in her head she knew the truth of what she was doing. But then when she spoke, she said, oh, I don't know, I think it's just because didn't think I could live without him. Like, that's a good example of what I'm trying to represent, is that like in her head she's a decent person, but then the moment she speaks I'm just like, yeah, you just lost all my respect. But it's kind of sad when like the other characters that have less lines than she does are more interesting. Like, I love Haymitch, I love Effie, like Effie being her, you know, peppy self who like knows she's doing wrong and like, I'm sending these kids to slaughter, but I'm gonna be happy and peppy and be like, you guys are like, you're like pearls, even though coal doesn't turn into pearls. The metaphor is diamonds, but even they don't do that either. It opens up with her like staring at her mom and their cat, and oh my god, I'm so happy I didn't realize that Buttercup was mentioned in the first few pages. Buttercup is also one of my favorite characters comparatively to Katniss. I choose Buttercup over Katniss. Okay, first few pages she's just basically like talking about how like, oh yeah, I almost wanted to like drown this cat, and like these are the thoughts that just go through her head, and I'm just like, Katniss, like, I know when young adult books came out there was like this whole thing with like, you have to have a love interest. It's just so forced. And here's the reason why I had that mini rant earlier in the video. It's not a good relationship, and it's not Peeta's fault. It is Katniss's fault the whole entire time. I mean, you can tell that he likes her, and like, yes, it's for show, and like they're the star-crossed lovers, and I'm just like, literally I told my friend when I read that line, I was like, I instantly thought in my head, yeah, but they don't die at the end like the star-crossed lovers do. And my friend was like, do they have to die at the end? I'm like, yes, if you're gonna reference Shakespeare, they have to die at the end. Those are my expectations. The relationship, I understand it's fabricated, and like, yes, of course, Peeta has to love her, and like, Gale is just Gale because he's the friend. But here's the other weird thing with Gale, because my friend even mentioned this, and I was just like, this is kind of weird too, and she talked to me about it, and she was like, why did I always kind of almost think that her and Gale were like relatives? And I'm like, because it says in the first few pages that literally her and Gale look exactly the same, and then a lot of people confuse them as being related, and I'm just like, and then not just that, but like the line after that says, oh, we could be but not closely related. I'm paraphrasing, but pretty much that's what she says, and I'm just like, okay. And Gale is just there. He's just there to be a relationship pawn kind of in the book, because like, he doesn't do much. Can we just say that? He doesn't do much in the book. All he's there for is to be like, hey, catnip, and I'm gonna be in your flashbacks, and this and this and this, and I'm your hunting partner. And he even says in the beginning that they weren't even good friends to begin with. Like, he didn't like her to begin with, and now they're just like hunting partners. But then constantly, and this is what bothers me about Katniss, every single time Gale is mentioned, she literally thinks to herself and says, oh, like, I wonder what Gale's thinking, but like, I don't like him that way, but like, I'm nervous that he might like me. Like, it's so insinuated every time he comes up in conversation. It's just like, oh, I don't like him that way. Oh, I just like him as a friend. Oh, but maybe I could like him. Like, I've never had a book more so throw a character's relationship in my face constantly about how, oh, this character might have feelings for so-and-so. Every single line that is about him is just, oh, I don't know if I like him or not. And I'm just like, okay, you said this like 3 chapters ago. I already know this. I don't need you to constantly say this. And like, I feel like it's just because it's supposed to mention him along the way, like, oh, Gale's waiting for me back home. Like, it's just kind of like just including him into the plot line where he's not existent in the plot line. And I understand that like their relationship kind of develops in like the 2nd and 3rd book, but at the same time it's kind of like, I feel like it's forced, because every single time, a majority of the times, it's just, I don't like him that way. And I'm like, either yeah, do like him because you keep mentioning it, or this is a plot device. I mean, no, like the fact that you keep mentioning it. Maybe it's just because like I'm an English major now, and I'm just like, yeah. I mean, no, like the fact that you just like, every time I'm just like, Katniss, like, why is he on your mind? Like literally, she'll like there'll be moments where like she's kissing Peeta within the arena, and she's just like, I wonder if Gale is watching, and I'm just like, that's what you're concerned about, not the fact that the boy that you're kissing is dying in front of you, but the fact that another boy back home is watching you kiss said boy. I'm just like, every moment with Rue was amazing. I appreciated her. And here's my thing though, I wish Rue had won the Hunger Games. Rue was the only one who managed to hide within the trees very, very well, to the point where Katniss couldn't even see her and had to like squint her eyes because she had to find where the voice was coming from. And then she also had the idea to drop the tracker jackers on the tributes, okay? She had the other idea to use the whistle call for the Mockingjays. She also knew what the heck the night vision goggles were, and she had like so many good ideas. And like, if it weren't for the fact that Katniss hadn't had done the whistle call sooner, or even like tried to make sure that she was okay, she would have been alive. And I wish Rue had survived. There's a line, and I can't remember, I believe it's in the second section, where literally in the beginning she promises Prim that she will come back alive. You know, she promises her she's gonna come back alive. But then in the second section, Rue tells her, hey, if I die, please live for me. Katniss's thought process to what Rue just said is, for some weird reason, me promising to Rue that I will live after this means more to me than my own sister. And I was just like, you don't even know Rue. Like, not the fact that your sister wanted you alive and Gale wanted you alive. No, those promises don't matter. It's Rue's promise that matters more to you. Them going to the cornucopia, the chariot scenes, and how like they were gonna be lit on fire, and oh my god, Caesar Flickerman. I love those scenes so much. Just like how helping them out and this and this and this, and like pretty much the scene when like Peeta is just kind of going to Caesar and like, yeah, like she came in with me and like she's the love of my life, and like it's all over the news and shit. Also, I didn't realize how not completely friendly Cinna was, but he was also like a really cool person. I still loved him at the same time. The scenes with the Avox, those were really good. The detail about like her background story and how she's mentioned a lot throughout the novel, and I'm just like, man, like why do I not remember this? But at the same time, it was good detail. She is an untrusty, unruly, untrustworthy point of view. There are so many times when she's in the arena where she's just off her nut, pretty much. She's just like not like okay in her mental state, and you can tell, hey Katniss, like keep telling yourself that you have tracker jacker venom in your body and you're starving and this and this and this. She'll have these conversations in her head where she's just like, why isn't Haymitch sending me stuff and this and this and this? I don't think he can read your mind, sweetheart. And then she'll have conversations in her head where she's just like, I know Haymitch is just like hating me right now that I didn't kiss Peeta, or I know he wants us to play up the lover role. You don't know Haymitch that much, and the only times you've known him, it's when he's like just hated you completely. There's a scene where Rue dies, and then there's bread that's sent to her, and it was sent to Rue, I believe. I don't think it was actually meant for Katniss. If it was, it's kind of weird that it was sent for her. But the moment she eats the bread, she's like, oh well, like we had specific breads before in the capital, and like they had it from different districts, right? Keep that in mind. Then Katniss gets this bread and she's like, oh, this has to be from Rue's district. It has to be. Like they must have sent me bread. These poor people must have gathered all this money to send me bread. 2 sections ago, you were at the Capitol and literally said that the Capitol has all the district's bread. So me and my friend were talking about this, and we're like, how does Katniss know that Rue's people sent her bread? Like, it could have just been Capitol people. But then, no, Katniss is just like, no, I'm gonna believe that it's from Rue's people, and I'm gonna thank them. I'm gonna thank them and say, Thank you so much for giving me the bread, Ruse people. Katniss, you could be thinking the capital right now for all you know, but okay, it's fine, it's fine. I completely forgot she was 16 and Gale was 18, and I kind of feel like that's just really weird. that just kind of bothered me, where like she's just like, why isn't Haymitch giving me water? He must know that I'm near water then, and this and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, fine, I'm gonna have to trust what you say, Katniss, even though I don't know what Haymitch is thinking right now because it's only through your POV. But it's fine. It's fine. She's so cocky when she shouldn't be, and it bothers me. So the first time is with the tributes and showing off their skills, and like I said, Katniss already demonstrated that she doesn't believe that she's confident enough to win the Hunger Games, right? She boasted about Peeta and how he's gonna kill somebody with throwing stuff. And we all know the iconic scene where she shoots the pig with the apple. She's over here in her head saying, I'm really good at archery. Of course, I missed the game makers, but no, I didn't miss because I actually meant to hit the apple. Was a dramatic statement? Yes, it was meant to be a statement, and I commend her for that. And then the second time, she literally said before entering the games that she had no chance of winning, and yes, eventually she does feel like she's gonna win because of course she's getting to the end and like a lot of people are dying, but she was getting cocky in the beginning to begin with. Like the moment she is up in the tree and about to hit the tributes with the tracker jackers, she literally is being cocky to Kato and is like, oh, like, you can't catch me, I'm all the way up here. And like she's betting on the fact that she is lighter than everybody else to climb a tree. You don't know these people, Katniss. You've never met them in your whole entire life, and you're betting on a hunch that they can't climb a tree. Granted, Kato is heftier, considering how thin Katniss is, and like by the end of it, you know that she's like really, really thin coming out of the Hunger Games. Okay, yeah, she's thin and she's starving. You're telling me that like Glimmer couldn't climb the tree, or Peeta? Katniss, don't push your luck. Yes, you're in a tree, but even you couldn't spot Rue up in the trees. So stop pretending that you know these people. And the other thing that didn't really settle with me either, the tracker jacker venom, right? You get this whole entire spiel of how these tracker jackers, once they get to you or whoever disturbs their nest, they will hunt you down until you die. Katniss was the one that disturbed their home. Yes, they attacked everybody else, but they also attacked her, and she never died. Was everything you just said, Katniss, a lie? So I don't trust her at this point. Somewhere in the world, those tracker jackers are still trying to find Katniss and Peeta. That was like a useless fact. Why did Katniss get the night vision goggles? Like clearly she didn't know how to use them. She didn't even know what the hell they were. Rue knew what they were, and she's like 12 to help save Peeta when, you know, she drugged him. Why did Katniss not need to know what night vision goggles were, and why did Rue need to know about it? The whole Barry scene, it was good. I mean, like, I expected it. I'm surprised they didn't die. This is why you can't trust Katniss, because first when she sees the night lock, she says, oh, her dad said never eat these because like before it even gets to your stomach you'll die, but yet she had it in her mouth and she didn't die. So I also forgot that she lost her hearing. I forgot that Peeta got a new leg. I completely forgot about that. Another thing too that was really weird was that there's a boy who has an injured leg, gets put into the games, which is completely messed up when you think about it. I mean, the whole point of the games is completely messed up. As a kid, I didn't realize the severity of the games, and now that I'm older, I'm just like, that's messed up. A kid who had an injury before going into the games managed to survive longer than Rue did. Like, how? I'm just so confused and conflicted. When Katniss was destroying the cornucopia, literally I told my friend, I was like, why didn't she have the foresight to, because like Foxface, the girl, when she goes into the cornucopia to get to like track the mines or whatever, I was just like, Katniss, why didn't you shoot the apples when this girl went to the cornucopia? Because literally that would have covered your tracks for the tributes, because they would have just saw her body and been like, oh, she got killed from our bomb, so she's the one that set it off, not so and so, and then Rue would have been alive. Things would have ended up better if she had done that. Every single time Peeta had affection towards Katniss, I'm just like, Peeta, you're too good for her. please move on. You could have dated anybody else. Go date Madge. Peta, like, you deserve so much better. This relationship is built on lies. I mean, she does show affection every now and then where she's like, oh, I didn't want to lose him and this and this and this. But then at the same time, she's also saying, oh, but I owe him my life, and I owe him this and I owe him that. I think it's sarcastic and it's funny when they do have their like normal human banter, but then she's constantly like just thinking negative about him. Like, she talks about how, like, you know, I owe him and he betrayed me and he went with the tributes and this and this and this, and the whole entire time when she's with him, she's constantly thinking about strategy, and she's like, he's playing me, he's doing strategy. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. But then when you have people saying that, oh my god, they love each other, and I'm just like, we're talking about a girl who knew she had to kill him in the beginning and constantly was thinking about that, where she was, a majority of the book, she's just like, he betrayed me and I have to kill him. The only time she had a relationship with him was when she was like taking care of him, and that was about it. And even then she was like kind of putting on a facade, because like in her head she's just like, if I kiss him more, we'll get more sponsors. And I felt so bad for Peta, because clearly his family didn't really completely care about him. I mean, his own father gave Katniss cookies but didn't give him anything, probably didn't even say anything to him, and was just like, eh. Like, when his brothers didn't even like, you know, like tribute for him. The 3-finger salute, when I reread that scene, oh my god, it is so much more heartbreaking. I completely forgot what that 3-finger salute meant. That symbol means that the person passed away and that you're gonna die. So in my head, when I was reading that scene, I'm just like, man, District 12 knows you're gonna die, Katniss. Like, literally, they're all just saying like, okay, you'll die, bye. Was like her dad being really good at singing, and I completely forgot about that. And I always kind of wondered why the franchise had her singing a lot in the books, and then I remembered, and I'm like, oh yeah, because her dad was a really good. I just don't personally like her, because I'm like, I feel like you have no redeeming qualities, Katniss. There were just so many moments where I'm just like, why didn't you sell your mom's clothes, get more money? I mean, like, her mom came from wealth. Good moments. Like, I love the Avox scene, like those scenes with the girl. I'm just like, man, like, I feel for this girl. I'm like, I felt like the Avox had more character arc than Katniss. Is that weird? I forgot that like the arena was an open arena, and I completely forgot that too. Also, I forgot that they pretty much just use them like museums to go like vacationing on, and foreshadowing for the 3rd book as well, like the whole scene of like the Avox girl and how they were running, and like, and Katniss was like, I'm not sure if they were gonna go past 12 because 12 is all that there's left. The whole like salute thing, and then at the end it kind of like goes back on itself. She talks about like, oh, like, we're gonna go, you know, tour the districts and they're gonna pretend to like us. And I'm just like, yeah, because they're gonna pretend to like you, because before they pretty much just said this and they were like, yeah, you're gonna die. Goodbye. With the mutts, that was a really good visual imagery. Rereading it just gave me like a whole set of new nightmares. I was just like, ooh. And when Peta said like, oh, are those their real eyes, I was just like, on top of, you know, Katniss drugging her so-called boyfriend, and that was an interesting experience. She also slapped him. The fact that like she's like with Flickerman and she's like twirling around like a little girl and laughing, and I'm just like, like, no, stop it. I was just like, stop it, don't do that. But you know, Cinna came in clutch when he was just like, just talk to me when you're up, Katniss, like, just don't be you. I feel like I'm Haymitch when I'm reading this book, and I'm just like, Katniss, stop it. So the first section, the actual first section of the book, is really, really great. I love it, I love it, I love it. And then the ending section is, it's pretty good too. You know, there are good details, but there's some inconsistency, and like I said, Katniss can't be trusted. But those 2 parts are the most interesting parts. But then like when they're actually in the arena is what kind of bored me a bit. Yeah, when Katniss got burned, which we completely forgot that she was hit by fireballs, because we thought that she just woke up in a fire, but no, she was getting hit by fireballs, like actual balls of fire. And my friend, she pointed out, she's like, yeah, when she said that she got hit with the fireballs, why was she like saying like, oh my god, it's the most worst pain in my whole entire life? But then when she was talking about how like she was starving and Peta saved her life, she like, that was, my friend was like, that wasn't painful. Like, all those years you were starving to death wasn't painful. but yet, and you losing your father wasn't painful, but the fire was the most painful thing. And so the two sections that I said, the beginning section of the novel and then the ending, were really, really good, and I thought were really, really interesting, and I really liked, you know. And then once you get into the Hunger Games aspect of it, which is the whole premise, thought popped into my head the other day. Why does this remind me of like all the wildlife channels? Look at this animal in its natural habitat. But like in my head, it was like, look at the tribute in their natural habitat. See them hit a checker nest. Foxface. The amount of times Katniss could have killed her, and she never did. And she literally just let her walk away. And she was just watching her. She was just watching her. Oh my god, there was so many times where she could have killed her, and it wasn't until the end of the book where she was like, maybe I underestimated her and maybe I should have been focusing on her. I'm like, no duh, Katniss. She could have killed her when she was going to the cornucopia and the tributes had rigged the bombs. She could have killed her then. She could have covered her tracks when she did that, but she didn't do it. And then there was another moment where I think she found her and she was just in a tree or something like that, and she was just watching her. She was just watching her as the girl was maniacally laughing to herself like she was a crazy person. I'm like, you're just watching her. You're just watching her and you're not killing her. And I'm like, I know you're 16 and you don't want to kill, but like be a woman and kill her. And it wasn't even her that killed her. It was Peeta, because he was naive and didn't know about the berries, and she died. And then she finally admits it, where she's just like, man, I underestimated her, and like I probably should have killed her. Because there was even a moment where she was just like, oh well, maybe I should team up with Foxface instead of Rue. But then again, like, she does seem kind of crazy, and I don't know if she'll backstab me, and I'm just like, you think? Like, you should have just killed her. All of their backstories was really great. So the ending with the star-crossed lovers thing, I was just like, that whole entire time I'm like, Katniss, why did you believe the game makers? Why would you think that they would let two people win? Like, why? Like, why? You knew that was not gonna happen. Because there are a few moments within the series where she goes into this mentality where she thinks everybody's gonna kill her. Like, she did it when she went to the Capitol Hall, and she was just like, I'm gonna die in the arena. And then she comes out and she's like, they're gonna kill me. And then I think it happens like 2 more times throughout the series where she's just like, they're gonna kill me. I think they would have killed you to begin with. Okay, I do appreciate the foreshadowing, like all of that stuff, and like coming back to this with like a kind of like an adult mind at this point, and like knowing what happens and this and this and this or whatever. I still enjoyed reading a lot of it. It made me laugh a few times, even though it is a pretty like depressing story. And I love Effie. I'm like, I guess I'm just one of those people that really loves Effie. She's just so Effie. If that makes sense. Yeah, I love Haymitch. I would be down to party with him. I mean, I love Peeta. She sounds like this badass in her head, but then when she talks, she's just like, I'm the girl on fire, I'm twirling. When the whole chariot scene, I thought it was really, really cool, but at the same time, I was just like, man, Katniss, like, your life is on the line, and you're just gonna be like, I'm waving, and I'm gonna act the part, and I'm gonna get a rose, and I'm just like, she has these moments that are decently okay, but there's no explanation, like, no reason as to why. It's not really in her character. She's just doing it. And then other characters pointed out, Haymitch was just like, so what was that show about, like, with you, like, with the roses? Like, I don't know how you managed to be that person, but then you're this person. Also, I forgot about the goat scene, but at the same time, I was just like, do I really need to know about your pet goat? All she wanted in life was to hunt, survive, and care for Prim. She talked about from the beginning that she didn't want to have kids. She didn't want to get married. She constantly talks about this stuff. Like, she just wanted a simple life and just didn't want any of this stuff. My overall thoughts and opinions. I do really love this book. Don't get me wrong. I know I said a lot of kind of negative stuff, but a lot of it was funny. It was just frustrating because Katniss was involved, but sadly, I can't take her out of the story. And to be honest, I'm surprised I still actually like it after all these years. Is saying a lot. I don't know if I'm ever gonna read The Ballad of the Birdsong. If you love Katniss, go ahead and love Katniss. I think it's more of a personal issue because I think I relate a little bit too much to her. I think I would give it like a 4.5 star. With that being said, I really did enjoy this book. I really liked this book, and I'm really happy that I finally got to do a review on it. I think it was a long time coming. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye.